Emerging in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia in the mid-1970s, the punk subculture is centered on a loud, aggressive genre of rock music called punk rock. One way of describing punk is to just pick up an instrument and create something. That is basically how punk music is created. Punk is very much a freedom of speech. As you can see, punk is a very open culture that has no limits whatsoever. The people freely express themselves as they choose, music being a very popular outlet to share their creativity. Most punk rock songs are short, filled with distorted guitars and noisy drummings. They usually have simple and somewhat basic arrangements using relatively few chords, and they have lyrics that express punk ideologies and values. The Dead Kennedys were one of the most influential punk bands that started their career in the San Francisco Bay Area. The Dead Kennedys songs focused on leftist political philosophy to exceed the nihilism, ignorance, and stupidity of the early hardcore scene. With their music, the Dead Kennedys wanted people to think more about themselves and expand their countercultural political limits. They were the band that was held responsible for establishing real leftist politics into the American punk culture. Unfortunately, the expandation of influencing people's political limits made the band fall apart. Even after the Dead Kennedys went their separate ways, Jello Biafra, the lead singer of the band, was still focusing on keeping people influenced with the leftist political philosophy. Biafra was very active in debates about politics of pop and punk. Because of these strong debates, he helped to initiate the culture war in the late 80s.
My record, Frankenchrist, was blasted by Susan Baker and the PMRC. In Variety, 2 weeks later, 9 police officers, 3 from L.A., 6 from San Francisco, broke a window by my front door, stormed into my house, tore the place apart like you'd see KGB people doing a TV movie or something, went through my address book, page by page.
Punk is about embracing the do-it-yourself ethos, which inspires many people to have their creativity to create their own music, art, film, fashion, and writing, and for them to have free thoughts, actions, rebellions, and works to make a change in the world. Punk aesthetics determine the type of art punks enjoy, usually with underground, minimalistic, iconoclastic, and satirical sensibilities. The use of images of suffering to shock and create feelings of empathy in the viewer is common. Punk artwork graces album covers, flyers for concerts, and punk zines. Usually straightforward with clear messages, punk art is often concerned with political issues such as social injustice and economic disparity. Punks can come from any and all walks of life and economic classes. Punks often form a local scene which can have as few as half a dozen members in a small town or as many thousands of members in a major city. Substance abuse has sometimes been a part of the punk scene, with the notable exception of the straight edge movement. Violence has also sometimes appeared in the punk subculture, but has been opposed by some subsets of the subculture, such as the pacifist strain of anarcho-punk. As I've said before, punk is a very open culture that has no limits whatsoever. Punks freely express themselves as they choose, whether it's art, music, writings, or even violence. As long as they can express themselves freely and openly, they are punk.
You're so late.
With the zines, it was like
really kind of ephemeral and like just of the moment, which I really loved, because you could write something really immediate. It wasn't like a magazine that you have to do something 3 months in advance. It was like you had an idea, you wrote it down, you did it that night. And it was also about like getting over your insecurities and not having to be professional and like, you know, cross your T's and dot your I's totally perfectly. It was like, I'm just going to write whatever, you know, it was very frantic and very much kind of in keeping with like the punk rock sensibility and in a way the arrogance of youth.
Just smoking and sitting atop of the newspaper machines. It was then that I noticed one newspaper stand unlike the rest.
Zines played a key role in the development and organization of the queercore and Riot Girl movements of the late 1980s and 1990s.
According to Anna Poletti, two noticeable themes targeted in young people's persons are consumer culture and depression.
Perzines seem to be the main type of zine that has not changed throughout the history of zines. The official upcoming of Riot Girl came in the summer of 1991. In addition to the newly organized group, they were represented as loud and, through zines, music, and spoken word, express themselves honestly and straightforward.
Where in our adult-run media landscape can critically and politically thinking feminist girls and women and lesbians, queer, and transgender youth from around the globe express their voices without being censored or ridiculed? It is in self-made independent zines.
Comet Bus began his career in self-publishing in July 1981, inspired by Berkeley's rising punk rock scene and the many independent publications to which it gave rise.
Comet Bus has evolved over the years from a photocopied pamphlet about punk rock music into a professionally printed, perfect-bound, softcover booklet of writings about Comet Bus's own life and the ethos of punk.
An icon in both the punk scene and the world of independent publishing, Aaron Comet Bus is one of America's most prolific and well-known underground authors. He and his friend Jesse Michaels, who was later the frontman for the influential ska punk band Operation Ivy, created a fanzine called Rip It Up. Comet Bus was the second and most famous series of zines that he wrote and self-published. Most of the Comet Bus zines were centered around the culture and town of Berkeley, where he grew up. Aaron Comet Bus wrote the Comet Bus zines in hopes to share not only the punk happenings in Berkeley, but about all other aspects in a teenager's life in Berkeley or not in Berkeley. Comet Bus zines were influenced mainly by the punk rock generation of the 1970s in cities, in particular San Francisco, Berkeley, and Oakland, California. Comet Bus zines had a major impact on society by presenting the message that anybody can express their thoughts and feelings of a particular topic on paper with no limits.
In 1990s. Are we smiling?
Just look. Just look. You don't have to. Okay, you don't have to do that.
Oh.
Like, sure.
Wait, why is it so high? Because you're so tall. Like, I have to look all the way up there.
You want me?
No, not eye level. Are we smiling? Okay, tell me when you started.
I can turn the flash on. Oops. Want to say something about yourself?
No.
Be like Alicia.
I'm Alicia.
Brooke. What am I saying? Do you just want me to read it?
You can just do whatever you want.
Alright.
You just look at it, and then there would be a voiceover over this. Like, you're not going to hear any of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If I want to. You just, like,
In
reading
the
it.
summer of
Anna, I don't know what to say.
What did you just read?
I think she said that herself.
Oh, did
Yeah.
you say that yourself?
I didn't read it.
I thought you read it.
I thought she had notes.
Well, that was good. Whatever you just said.
Okay.
Okay,
Do you know where okay, hold on. Alright, go ahead.
this is where it all
Oh.
Sorry. So many hard words.
Where should I do the angle? Like this? Or should I be like...
I don't know.
I think you should do it from behind.
Where's my best side? I'm kidding. I work to change the world.
Nice.
Kaz and I love zines.
Go. Start over.
Hell.
Start over.
However, zines can be traced back. Oh, I'm in a library. Keep filming. Even earlier times in 17th century Britain.
Okay, I'm not using that part.
Just put it closer so you can hear it.
Yeah, I'm a loud talker. I mean, this is the military. I mean, the impact.
Emancipation.
It's going to need some editing.
Yeah, it is.
Just a little bit of editing.
Was that
Cut
it?
the shine.
Okay. And Andrew.
And Andrew.
And Andrew.
This is
Where it all.
Started. Oh,
You look so excited.
okay. Just look happy. Wave or something. Yay. Okay, that's horrible.
we should do a punk
You said that was horrible?
Is it on? Yeah, it is.
Andrew.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this off now.